Hey, and welcome. Welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming today live as we do every single day to kick off the first week of back to business in 2020. First day, first week of the new decade. And things are looking great here in New York. We're in the downtown studios of Newsmax in the Question Tequila studios. Before getting into today's unbelievable show, we got Rich Valdez joining us a little later on. He's the host of This Is America podcast. We're talking about AOC and Joe Biden. Rebecca Harari is going to be here also. Before getting into the big show, let's go down the street to the New York Stock Exchange, where this morning the global fears had the markets down almost 150 points pre-open. It's been in recovery mode since then. Market down today about 66 as we speak. I think it's going to recover here. You see all the Democrats on the left talking about how this is an escalation. They're almost making this guy the number 2 henchman of terror across the globe into some martyr at this point. Trump has shown strength. I think the markets are going to see that Trump's not drawing red lines in the sand that people can cross. He's going to take action. He's going to take swift action. So I think that's all good for the markets. Seeing a bounce here this week when people really start to dig in and get back to work. My eyes are on oil because the first place you would see some fear is in oil-producing nations. Maybe they'll cut back. Maybe they'll cut off Iran. Lower supplies, higher prices. So keep your eye on oil and keep your eye on Boeing, which had some management changes at the end of the year. But it's big drag on the Dow. As Boeing goes, so goes the Dow. Bitcoin at 7,500. It's been stabilizing there. Between 7,000 and 8,000. I think we're safe there. You are always safe when we start the week and bring in my co-host, managing editor, Frank Morano. And he is in the new Frank Zone.
The Frank Zone, baby.
Today.
John will do absolutely anything to get me moved away from him.
That's right.
And here I am. I got my own zone out of it. I got a library. I got some booze. I'm not sure what it says that so many of the books deal with tantric sex and the complete idiot's guide to dating, but I have a library. So it's great to be here in the Frank Zone. And a big thank you to not John, but to John's mother, Pat Caltabiano, who gave me this delightful new tie as a gift for Little Christmas, which is today. And it's monogrammed, it's personalized, FMP.
Is that your actual middle initial? That's the real question, because I couldn't figure it out. My mother said she scoured the web, and when I asked him this morning, is that your middle initial? He said, do you want me to tell you now or on air?
All right. Well,
so it's a big secret, I guess.
There is some breaking news here. Do you want me to bring you the breaking news first?
Breaking news, and then we'll go back to your middle initial.
All right. Breaking news first, then my middle initial second. See, people think our priorities are out of whack on this show. We know exactly what we're doing. All right. Just breaking within the last few minutes, former National Security Advisor John Bolton says he will testify in an impeachment trial if the Senate issues him a subpoena. That's very interesting. That's a world of difference from what we heard on the House impeachment side of things.
Well, of course, Frankie. Think about it.
Yeah. Well,
he's been wanting to bomb Iran for how long? You know what I mean? And
since he was born.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden
Since
Trump takes out number 2, Mr. 2, and Bolton was probably rejoicing. It was probably like the Super Bowl at his house. And now he says, "Sure, I'll testify on behalf of the president." Absolutely.
Well, he didn't say on behalf of the president.
I know.
He said he would testify. That's a wild card.
I'm being a cynic.
Bolton is a wild card. Now, he's probably the most prolific note taker at the top level of the White House, so it would be big news if he were to actually testify. And by the way, do not assume that John Bolton's testimony would be favorable to Trump. I have a feeling that John Bolton is still a little sour over being fired, and he might not necessarily look to do the president any favors. The other piece of breaking news we want to bring to your attention before getting to the real news of the day, which has to do with my middle initial, is former Pennsylvania Congressman, Republican Congressman Michael Fitzpatrick has died at the age of 56. He was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2008. I'm not certain if that was the cause of his death. Condolences to his family. This was a district that was very much a swing district, a tough district, and his brother Brian Fitzpatrick now actually holds that seat in Congress now.
Fantastic.
It's one of the most purple districts in the whole country, and both Congressman Michael Fitzpatrick and Brian Fitzpatrick get pretty good reviews from their colleagues and their constituents. So whether he was a good congressman or a bad congressman, thoughts going out to his family as they're dealing with all this.
God bless, of course.
Absolutely.
Was,
all right, now, John,
still a servant.
You asked about the middle initial P here.
Everyone's on the edge of their seat, Frankie.
All right. I'm on the edge of my bar stool. Now, I do not have a middle name. There is no middle name, initial or otherwise, on my birth certificate. Nothing. So technically, I do not have a middle name. However, every piece of official documentation I have says Frank P. Morano. How could this be? Well, when I was 16 or 17 years old and I was going to the New York State DMV to get my learner's permit, they hand you all your information: hair color, height, eye color, name, address, birth date. They say, is this all correct? I look at it. I say, no, I don't have a middle initial P. And they say, according to the passport that you just gave us as proof of identification, you do have a middle initial P. So I look at this passport that I got when I was maybe in the second grade. I look at this passport, sure enough, there's a P on there. I say, it doesn't matter what it says. I'm telling you, I don't have a middle initial P. And they said, look, we can either give you a learner's permit with the middle initial P on it, or we cannot give you a learner's permit. So what do you do as a 17-year-old? You take the P.
Take a P.
So now,
and by the way, on that note, hang on, I just want to tell you, today, January 6th, speaking of taking a P, was the first time ever Wheel of Fortune debuted on television with Pat Sajak as the host in 1975. So, Frankie, I'll take a P.
Okay.
Next.
All right. Now, so you take the P. So that P has followed me onto my driver's license, onto every credit card that I have, onto every form of official identification that I have, because you use your driver's license for everything, has the middle initial
So
P
it has
on.
no name behind it, you're saying? There's no actual name
No
behind it. Your
actual
middle name is P for administrative purposes only.
Exactly.
So my mother was right.
Yes.
According
absolutely.
to the government
Absolutely.
documentation.
In a lot of ways, I'm like Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman had no middle name. He was just S.
All right. Okay.
Or Ulysses S. Grant.
On that note, I'd like to, can I buy a vowel, Frankie?
Buy away.
Because I know we're going to be talking about AOC. Yeah, you know me. A little later on when Rich Valdez joins us. Potential candidate to challenge her and take her down. But what else is happening today? There was big news over the weekend with the whole Ricky Gervais thing.
Okay, well, that was last night. The Golden Globes last night. Did you watch?
Yeah,
I thought Ricky Gervais actually did a terrific job as the host.
Amazing.
And you know what? I didn't know if the program was going to hold my interest because I haven't seen any of the shows nominated for any category, and I only saw a handful of films. But I thought it was an incredibly well-produced show from start to finish. It started off a little bit like this.
Woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and
bleeped
on
out
point.
There. Get the blank
on
off is
point.
what he said. But his whole monologue was very funny, and he was great throughout the show, I must say.
Him and Chappelle should get together because it seems to be a little groundswell of what you would perceive to be typical left-wing supporters coming out on and talking in support of.
But you know what, John? Again, who cares what anyone's politics are? What Ricky Gervais did just there, that's what everybody should be doing in terms of these late-night comedy shows. He's making fun of everybody.
I'm with you. We can't joke around anymore.
Johnny Carson.
You know how funny I am.
I
can't even use half my jokes on here because this could be construed as politically incorrect.
Right, so you keep saying, but Johnny Carson,
I'm telling you.
You didn't know what his politics were. He made fun of everybody. He made fun of Democrats,
you don't know what my
Republicans,
politics are, do you?
I have a pretty good idea, which again makes your dalliance with the Democrats in the mayor's race in 2021 all the more confounding to me. All right, but if you do switch parties, you should switch by February in New York so you could vote in the New York primary. We're going to be bringing you a ton of news on the presidential race and on the Iran situation, which only seems to be heating up, on the economy, and a host of other issues. But none of those are what I am speaking, frankly, about. So David Friedlander wrote a profile of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York Magazine. It's a pretty interesting article. Not much that's terribly surprising there. It's comprehensive, it's thoughtful, but one part that I was particularly interested in was her analysis, and I think she's actually on the money with this one, about Joe Biden. Take a look at what she said. She's asked about how she would work with Joe Biden if he's elected president. Her response, "Oh God," she said with a groan, "in any other country, Joe Biden and I would not be in the same party. But in America, we are." Now, this is pretty much the same thing that Biden has said. And they're both right. And if you think about it, what possible sense does it make that someone like Mike Bloomberg is in the same political party as someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? It's not just a Democrat thing, though. Take a look at the Republican Party. It's an even bigger tent. How can Mitt Romney, with his views on Russia and going to war with every country there is, be in the same party as Rand Paul? Or how can somebody like Tucker Carlson be in the same party as Stephen Moore? Yet they all are. America needs a vibrant multi-party democracy.
Yes.
There's no reason that there shouldn't be a socialist party that can compete equally with kind of a centrist Democratic Party that everybody can be more at home in. So why isn't that the case? That's the question we need to ask ourselves, and the answer is quite simple. Because whether it's cultural, whether it has to do with electoral reform, the major parties have rigged the system to benefit themselves.
That's
We
right.
in America, we can have big tents, but we can have 4 or 5 parties that can all compete on an equal playing field. Now, people view voting for a Green or a Libertarian or an independent candidate as throwing your
Waste
vote
of a
away.
vote.
You know why they do that? Because more often than not, it is. We need ranked choice voting, and we need fair access to the ballot, and that's what's so disappointing about this presidential election. The next debate you'll see, not one question about how to level the playing field for alternative parties and alternative candidates. John?
Right. Well, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get the purple people, round them up, and start a movement, because most of the people in the middle are the ones that are sane. It's these nut jobs on the left and the right that are keeping us divided. We're going to keep trying to unite under one mission to make television great again. We'll come back right after this with Rich Valdez talking about AOC.
Yeah, you know.